Amen. Amen. Let us turn to Genesis chapter 26, please. Genesis. That is the first book in the Bible. Genesis 26. And I'm coming from the 18th through the 22nd verse. Genesis 26, 18 through 22. Genesis 26, 18 through 22. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died, and he gave them the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herders of Gerar quarreled with those of Isaac and said, the water is ours. So he named the well Esek, because they disputed with him. Then they dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. He moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled over it. He named it Rehoboth, saying, now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land. The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
You may have your seats. Let me give you all a little bit of backstory here as we go into the word. Isaac is the son of Abraham. The father, Isaac is also the father of Jacob and Esau. Yes. Jacob, we know, was given a new name by God, which is Israel. Very good, yes. Isaac was promised to Abraham. Yes. See, Abraham and his wife, and at that time their names was Abram and Sarai. Yeah. They were without child and very old. Extremely old. Now, I learned a few nights ago that when women become pregnant after the age of 35, they have what is known as a geriatric pregnancy. I heard that terminology of watching This Is Us, and then she said, you know, geriatric pregnancy. I looked over at Erica. I said, I had a geriatric pregnancy. Yes. After 35, you're considered at risk, and you know, I didn't know that's what it was called. I just thought it was old woman pregnancy, you know. So, you know, open age pregnancy. I didn't know it's called geriatric. I may have reconsidered if I knew that term. Made me want to take some Geritol, you know. but it's considered at risk. Now, I knew I had to take a whole bunch of tests, you know, to make sure that Maya was okay. I had to take all kinds of ultrasounds and extra ultrasounds to make sure everything that she was developing properly, because as you get up in age, the older you are, the more likely you are to have a complication. Right. But the ultimate geriatric pregnancy is found in the Bible, when we find that Sarah, or Sarai, is pregnant with Isaac and has him at the age of 90. Now, Isaac's name literally means laughter, because when Abraham and Sarah were told about him, they laughed. They said, ain't no way. We old, you know, I'm sure Sarah was like, I ain't having no kids at no 90 years old. But nevertheless, here comes Isaac. They named him Laughter. And so Isaac is now an older man. We've gone past the time of Abraham. Abraham has already passed away. And the Bible tells us that there was a famine in the land. And it causes Isaac to get up and seek refuge in enemy territory, the Philistine territory. And they are in the territory of the Philistines. However, the Bible also says that Isaac was blessed by God. So much so that everything he planted, God would then restore to him 100-fold. So he became very wealthy very quick. Yes. Somebody say favor. Favor. In fact, he was so wealthy that the Philistines became jealous and vindictive. Okay. Anybody ever been in a situation where you start having some prosperity? It ain't got to be money, but you start doing well, and then the people in which they used to be cool with not cool any longer.
All right.
And that's exactly what happened when it came to Isaac and the Philistines. They became vindictive. And the Bible says they stopped up the wells that Abraham had dug. And the king told Isaac, listen, you got to go. You and your people, y'all becoming way too powerful. So I'm going to ask you all to kindly leave. Get out of here. Right. There's a famine in the land where you're from. I don't care. You need to go. And in verse 18, it says that before they left, Isaac then reopened the wells that his father had dug, and he gave them the same names as Abraham had given them. There's a reason for that. The wells in those times were a symbol of wealth. Poor people didn't have wells. It's almost like today. You don't drill a well just anywhere. You just come outside and say, you know what, I think I'm going to put a well right out there. This isn't your property, right? So you're not going to go and dig a well anywhere that's not yours. If you dug a well, first of all, digging a well, it wasn't a such thing as a well digger. You didn't have any big equipment. Wells were literally dug by hand. It was not a one-person, two-person job. You and your 3 sons gonna get out there and dig a well. That's not how that worked. You had to have a good amount of servants to actually dig a well. Because you get out there by hand and have to dig through a lot of times limestone in order to get far enough down that you could actually reach water. And so Isaac and Abraham were very wealthy men, so they had the manpower and they had the land in which to place these wells. When the Philistines came along and clogged them up, it was almost like they were trying, it's not almost, they were trying to be ugly when they did it. They were squandering the hard work that Abraham had put into creating something life-giving. Anybody ever put hard work into something that was life-giving? Yes. Hard work. If you are the leader of any organization and the organization is supposed to be helping people, that's life-giving. You're the leader of a church, you're the leader of a ministry, you have organized, you have developed something that's going to feed people, you've developed something that's going to house people, you've developed something that's going to educate people. That's life-giving. And it is the most painful thing in the world when somebody is trying to clog that thing up. Right. The way in which they clogged wells, and they still do it the same way, is they take massive amounts of dirt and pour the dirt down into the well so that it no longer will produce fresh water. And so Abraham's wells had all been clogged. And Isaac said, my daddy worked too hard. Now I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm sure he thought to himself, my father worked too hard for me just to leave these wells clogged up. Yeah. So they unstopped all of the wells in the enemy territory and moved on. Yeah. The Bible says that they came across water in the valley. And they dug a well. Now, the Bible moves so quick through this, but let me give you some perspective. Isaac and his family could not stay where they were. And so they found themselves in a valley, a low place. Yes. But even in the valley, when they dug deep enough, when they put in enough work, they eventually found fresh water. Right. I don't know if anyone can relate, but when you are favored by God, you can get water from a rock. If you put in the work to get it. All it takes is some effort. It's not easy, but it's always fruitful. Favor does not mean that blessings fall in your lap 24/7. That's not favor. Many times we say, ooh, that's favor when we stumble across a blessing. That may be favor, but favor is also when you put your hand to the plow and your fruit is multiplied. When you're fruitful in the things that you are doing, that's also favor. When you get more from your effort than what you put in. In other words, when you put in X amount of work that should have given you X amount of crop, but you put in X amount and you get 3 times that much, that's favor. But the problem is many people want the favor that falls in our laps and we'll sit back. I'm waiting on God's favor. See, favor is you're not qualified for the position, but you go in and you put the application in anyhow and they hire you. That's favor. Favor is not, well, I'm waiting on the favor of God. I ain't gonna put in no application. Somebody will come to me. Right? That's not favor. That's luck. We don't believe in luck. We Christians, no, that's luck. That's blind luck. That's you roll the dice and it fell, That's not favor necessarily. Favor is when you put your work and your effort into it, and God produces something from that more than what you bargained for. Amen. God will make it so that when you put your hand to the plow, everything you touch is prosperous. That's favor. Yes. And if we knew the favor that we walked in, if you knew, anybody ever heard the stories of the people that could touch stuff and it turned to gold? King Midas. And so I always thought to myself, if I had that opportunity, if I had that power, that's my superpower, turn everything to gold, right? That's a blessing and a curse, because think about it, you couldn't touch nobody that you love, right? But if I had that superpower, don't you know I'd be touching everything and just selling it. You know, I'd be the richest, because I would literally just go through and everything turned to gold, everything turned to gold, everything turned to gold, ordinary stuff turning to gold. But don't you know that you are working in the favor of God, where it's not going to be literal gold, but everything you put your hand to is about to prosper. And if you knew the favor that you have, you would put your hands to more stuff than what you touch. Because many of us, well, I don't know if that's going to work out, so I ain't going to touch it. No, put your hand to it, because when you put your hand to it, God is going to make sure that it prospers. Touch it. I dare you, when you leave here today, the stuff you've been afraid to touch, because I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know, I may fail. I don't know, I might just not, I just might miss out. I dare you to try and watch the favor of God happen just for you. So Isaac and his men put in blood, sweat, and tears and built a well, only for somebody to come along and say that the water that they found belonged to them. Think about that for a minute. They really put their effort in on this thing. A well just doesn't appear out of nowhere. I command you to be a well, and it just opened up. Right. They actually had to work. They actually had to toil. They put in some time building a well for somebody to come along and say, that's ours. That's right. Finders keepers. And what does the Bible say? Isaac said, you know what? I'm going to name this well Isaac, which means dispute. And they moved on. We'll go somewhere else. All right. Take that. That's yours. Dispute. We're going somewhere else. And they left Isaac. They left the dispute and moved on to another location to dig. Yes. And what you know, just like God says, that there's always going to be, whenever you put your hand to the plow, you're going to find something prosperous. They found more water. And Isaac and his men put in the work to build a well, another one. And they put their blood, sweat, and tears in the hot desert sun. They dug, and the well was finished. They claimed that this is my well. And then they said, y'all can't have it because it belongs to us. They disputed over that one too. How many people have put in work only for people to come along and try to snatch it right from up under you? That's right. That's right. And Isaac says, okay, well, I'm going to name that one Sitna, which means opposition. And they moved on to find another spot. Somebody knows where I'm headed with this, because many of us set up residence next to dispute and opposition because we can't fathom leaving what we have worked so hard to produce. Yeah. And so we literally will be in the midst of dispute and opposition, fighting against something that ain't yours to begin with, because God has better for you. Amen. Amen. So we fight and we stay and we're saying, well, I've worked too hard to let this thing go. I can't let go. I must stay. And although it's a dispute and although there's opposition, I'm still going to stay in the middle of it, pressing against something that is not doing anything to help me, but rather to harm me. Yeah. And as the people of God, sometimes we have to learn how to cut our losses and move on. Yeah. Somebody say, move on. Move on. I'm not saying that there's nothing worth fighting for. And just because you reach a point of opposition that you should tuck your tail and run. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you must be discerning enough to know what should be left alone and what you should fight for.
Say that, Pastor. Say that, right?
Discernment. We should be praying for discernment. God, is this something I should fight for? Or God, is this something that I should let go? And if it's something I should let go, please give in letting it go. Kenny Rogers said it like this. He said, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Some of us are sitting up at the poker table of life with 2 3s talking about, well, I'm just going to keep on, and willing to up the bet. I'm going to up the ante because I believe that these 2 3s could beat me. And then mad when somebody with a full house come in and take everything we own.
That's right.
Because we should have known when to hold them and known when to fold them. And if you setting up at the poker table of life with 2 3s, baby, only thing you about to be is 2 2s. That's it. Chances are with somebody with a pair of 4s can come through and sweep through. But everybody, I can tell the ones they gamble. Because the gambler's right there with me. Yeah, Pastor. Because showing up, and I sure wasn't up no bet. When the table came down to me, boy, I would have folded them cards so quick. No, you can't do nothing with no 2 3s. No. Yeah, some of us know what poker is like. We'll never raise the stakes on stuff that ain't gonna prosper to nothing.
Amen.
Verse 22 says that Isaac moved on from there and dug another well.
Yes, he did.
See, we got to know when to move on from there and dig another well. Well, but I put down $100 on that bet. I don't know if I might as well just go ahead and fold the cards and move on and dig another well.
Before you lose more than you already.
There you go. I graduated, I'm going to tell y'all a story and we're going to get out of here. I graduated high school and went straight to Elizabeth City State University in North Carolina. Anybody know where that is?
Yep.
Yeah, ECSU up there in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and I majored in music industry when I got there. And I had planned on becoming a music producer. That was my major. That was what I was interested in doing. And ECSU had a full recording studio. And they had all these rooms full of engineering equipment. And you could write and you could produce. And if you majored in it, you could utilize the equipment. And I had never worked on professional equipment before, any equipment really, but I begged one of the seniors, please teach me how to use this equipment. I'm a freshman. Please teach me how to use this equipment. I really want to know. I want to write something. I'm excited. I'm a music engineer and I want to produce music. And I was so excited. Gung ho. And so he said, all right, I'll teach you how to use it. So he sat me down, and this is 1998 now. And he sat me down at the Korg Triton. Anybody do music? You know what the Korg Triton is?
Yeah.
And that's the old school one that you had to have the 3.5-inch floppy and you stick that in and that's how you save your work. And so he taught me how to do everything. And I went and I put y'all know I ain't really got no rhythm, but I put the drum beat on there. I had the beats. I had everything. I had all the strings. I had everything. The music was so hot. And I even started, so I was like, man, this sounds good, right? And so I let some of the seniors listen to it. They were like, no, that's pretty tight. Like, we like that. And like one person, like one of the really good singers in the school, she was like, you got lyrics? And I'm like, yeah, I wrote some lyrics. She's like, I wouldn't mind laying some vocals for you. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I can see it happening. My dream is about to come true. I'm about to actually produce a song. I'm about to put some lyrics over it. I got some back folks already. Yeah, I can run some background for you, And I'm like, well, shoot, I can go ahead and run whatever, background that needs to be run too. So I got it planned out in my head. People are coming in. I'm telling you, I worked for months on this, though. It's not something I put together in 3 hours. It's something I put together in literally a month. Like literally every day I spent hours just because I didn't really know what I was doing, just listening and just fixing and listening and figuring in and singing. And I had this song running through my head all the time for like a month. I worked hard, y'all. That was my well digging moment right there. This one guy, and people would come in and they'd be like, let me hear that song. We heard a freshman wrote a song. We want to hear it. And nobody had anything bad to say. Even people that you know they came in to hate because they wanted something to say, they listen to it and they say, all right, well, that's tight, and leave. And then you knew, you ain't got nothing good to say, but you ain't had nothing bad to say either. I knew my stuff was tight. So this one guy came in, he said, I heard that you wrote a song, let me listen to it. And I put it on there and I pressed it. He said, yeah, that's pretty tight, that's pretty tight. He said, let me save it for you. He pressed the button, and before I could say don't, he erased my whole song. And man, my spirit dropped. I looked at all those hours of work that I put into that song, and I was like, man, I can't believe you just, no, I didn't delete it. We couldn't find it anywhere. The song was just gone. He said, well, you did a backup, didn't you? Don't you have this somewhere else? I'm like, no, man, I don't know nothing about no backup, man. I'm just now learning how to use it. I didn't put it on nothing but one. Oh, man. Well, you can redo it. No, I can't redo it. Man, I've worked so hard. I can't redo it. I would try to redo it. And I tried, but I couldn't. I tried. It just didn't sound right. I put the beat down. I couldn't get it back the way I had it. I really believe that God had anointed me to actually write that piece of music, and I couldn't duplicate it. And because I couldn't duplicate it, and I was trying, anything else that I wrote just didn't sound good anymore. And I tell you what I did. The next week I changed my major and I never produced another song again. That was the end. I wish I would have known about verse 22 in 1998. Isaac moved on from there and dug another well. I think sometimes, I'm like, I probably would have been real good at producing music if my very first piece was that dynamic. Like, I mean, it was so, like, it had a neo-soul type vibe to it before neo-soul was neo-soul. We're talking 1998. So we're talking that Erykah Badu had come out, but there was no India Arie, there was no Jill Scott. All of these other artists that later on came in on the scene, none of them were there yet. I would have been one of the first and originals.
Oh, wow.
But I refused. I couldn't leave and move on from where I was and go dig another well. And I say this story not so that I can take myself back to the woulda, coulda, shouldas, because I love my life the way it is and I believe it happened just the way it should have. But perhaps there's someone in here today who was in the middle of writing a book maybe, and your computer crashed, and you can't find the book no more, but you put in too many hours on that one book, and so now you are afraid to even start a second book, and the one that you have is long gone, but you put in too much work to start again. Perhaps you are somebody that went through school and you got but a couple of credits left, but because the school that you went to, you don't want to put in any more money into it, and so now you got all these credits piled up, but you know you'd have to start over from the beginning somewhere else in order for you to get that degree, or perhaps you put out a business plan and you wrote that thing all the way out, but you've come just this far to figure out that business ain't gonna work, and so you're gonna have to start from scratch in order to make something successful. You got to go back to the drawing board, but you can't fathom going back to the drawing board because you put too much into the first one. My advice to you is to get up, move on, and dig another well. I don't care that you put 20 hours in over here or 30 hours in over here. I don't care that you poured your heart and soul into this book or into this poem or this book or poetry or this play. It's gone. Get up, move on, and dig again, because you don't know the next thing that might happen. Let me show you this. Paul tells the Galatians, be not weary in your well-doing. The Bible tells us that Isaac and his people went and dug a third well. And when they got to the third well, they had to name it Rehoboth, which means wide places or room. They had so much space where they found finally no opposition, no dispute, that they had so much space that they were able to set up shop and have life there without any interruption, without anybody coming in and anyone trying to take what they have worked for. My encouragement to you is to stop arguing over sticks when God is trying to move you to a forest.
Yes. Yes.
You will reach your Rehoboth. Keep your hand on the shovel and keep digging.
That's right.
And if that doesn't work, move on. So many of us have a problem moving on.
That's right.
We don't want to let it go. Some of us have stopped trying and stopped moving on and just become complacent, just shy of the promise. Can you imagine that? What if the very next business you start, now I know 5 of them didn't fail before, but what if the very next one you start is your $1 million idea? Right? What if the very next time you make a phone call, it lands you that multi-million-dollar contract? See, but if we get too complacent in, well, I guess I'm just going to just be right here. I put too much work in and I'm tired now. We'll never know. You will miss it if you refuse to dial another number. What if the next person you share Jesus with comes to Christ? You're going to miss out. And so, if you focus on the last 5 people that didn't, it's going to hinder you from moving forward and sharing again. What if the next time you pray is when you get your breakthrough? But I'm tired of praying. Ain't nothing happened yet.
Yes.
But what if it's the very next time? What if the next application you fill out gets you that job? What if the next proposal you make lands the contract? Stop giving up just shy of the promise.
That's right.
Stop becoming complacent in dispute and opposition and say, you know what, there's dispute and opposition here. That means I must move to my Rehoboth. That means I must move to a place where there is no dispute, where there is no opposition, where I have wide open spaces, enough room to grow. Because just what if you kept going? What if you kept digging? What if you did not get stagnant? What if? What if? What if I would have wrote another song?
My Lord.
What if? What's your what if? It's never too late.
That's right. That's right.
It's never too late. I don't care if you are 90 years old, Sarah. It's never too late.
That's right.
Move on and dig again.
That's right.
Move on and dig again. So many people, I'm just going to be single for the rest of my life because none of my relationships have worked out.
Right. That's right.
Move on and dig again.
Yes.
Don't block out love because 3 didn't work. What if number 4 is your husband or your wife?
Yes.
But you got to relinquish number 3 to get to number 4. Amen. Discernment. Do I fight or do I get up and move on? Only God can tell you that.
That's right.